Welcome to the Chew on This podcast. Join your host, Dr. Katie Chew, and her guests as they chew on what matters, one story at a time.
Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Chew on This podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Katie Chew. And today, this morning or late morning, I have a special guest. I have Dr. Bobby Chip Wood.
Oh, thank you for having me, Katie. And please call me Chip. We are friends and colleagues, and so please call me Chip.
Yes. Well, we also have a history with B&L.
That's right. We're both CLEs for B&L, and I think we kind of first met face-to-face meeting together already.
Yes. And also, in terms of where we are right now, Vision Source, the exchange, I am an attendee, and I got to see you up on stage.
What a fantastic opportunity that was. I love Vision Source. Having been a member for 16 years, an administrator for 6 years, and for industry and Vision Source to give me an opportunity to speak in front of our amazing colleagues and staff that are here was such a thrill, and just love being up there yesterday. It was a fantastic experience.
You were on the main stage.
I was on the main stage in general session, and I do some work with a company called Pure and Clean, and they do a great job with Hyperforce Solutions. So educating our members about antibiotic stewardship and the benefits. It was just a great time, and just seeing those thousands and thousands of faces in the audience come together for the 35th anniversary of Vision Source was an amazing event.
Do you have the exact count of how many attendees?
That's a great. I thought I heard over 3,000, but
I feel like it's more.
I mean, there's a lot of people here. They did say it's the largest group we've ever had. So
and I can feel it. I can feel it.
A lot of energy. A lot of energy for sure.
Yeah. I am going to bring up one word. Okay. Yesterday, when you were on the main stage, you mentioned stewardship.
That's right.
That really hit home.
Yes.
For me. Did you choose it? That word.
That was great. I think it was coined by my co-presenter, Dr. Bucky Buckner. He's a double board certified general surgeon and wound care specialist, and he's the CEO of Pure and Clean. And so in his line of work, being a surgeon, he works for hospice, and they work with Stanford Health and the Mayo Clinic, implementing antibiotic stewardship through trying to minimize all the issues we have with resistance of using medications, maybe too much or inappropriately. So that was the word that they coined. And so we're using that to try and teach our doctors that you don't always have to prescribe the antibiotic. And many times Hyperforce Solution would be an outstanding product for sepsis, sterilization, disinfection, because we know that product's been around for 100 years. It's safe, it's non-toxic, it's safe for kids, it's safe for the skin, for the eyes. Most importantly, though, it's effective against bacteria, viruses, and fungi, which is a great opportunity for optometrists to take care of their patients and practice antibiotic stewardship and save our big gun antibiotics for the real superbugs that are out there.
Yeah. So I just when it really did resonate with me, and
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, because it connected me on a faith level. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And when you are living your life at that point where you are following a certain path, right, and trying to do good, that's where it resonated, because that is what your messaging is about the product, right? Is to do good for the patients.
Absolutely,
right? And so I loved it.
Well, thank you for that, and I love that too. And with Vision Source, I had the thrill and the opportunity to be an administrator, and it goes to that as well. We are a steward to basically mentor our current practices that are thriving, but also to mentor our new colleagues who are starting their cold practices, and they basically need some help and mentorship. Because we were all there at one time starting our practices, and so I do take a lot of pride that I can help to be a steward in my community with my colleagues and my own practice,
and for the future of our profession, right?
We need to be, Vision Source is absolutely pushing forward with keeping independent optometry going and thriving. And so, yes, that's a great mission we have together.
And in terms of your practice, one location?
So I have 2 locations. So I have one practice in San Antonio, Texas. It's called Wood Vision Source. We've been there now 11 years, and it's basically a full scope practice. In Texas, we can't do laser surgery yet. We hope one day we'll have that. But except for that, we'll full scope a dry eye clinical center of excellence, glaucoma, mactogen, mode control, IPL therapy, co-management of refractive and cataract surgeries, and a lot of glaucoma, and diabetes.
So when we look at your practice, it's comprehensive eye care, but at a larger level.
At a large level,
because you are providing comprehensive in every aspect.
It is. And I have a second practice in rural Texas, in Uvalde, Texas, and it's about an hour.
What's the city?
Uvalde, Texas.
Uvalde, Texas.
Yeah, and so they're about an hour and a half west of San Antonio. It's my wife's hometown. And so when we first moved from my home state of North Carolina to Texas, we first moved to Herborn County, Uvalde, and I practiced there for 7 years before moving to San Antonio. And so my first cold start, my first vision source cold start was in Uvalde.
Okay.
And that was in 2010.
Okay.
And then 2014, I purchased my second practice in San Antonio. And now we have the 2 offices.
Oh, so Uvalde was the first practice, and then the one that you originally talked about was your second.
So just as it turns out, my larger practice, my San Antonio practice, is my second practice. My Uvalde practice, though, is thriving and doing great. And I have 2 amazing associates, Dr. Santina Lujan and Dr. Emily Burnett, and they support me and allow me to come and do events like this. And they do an amazing job. So we rotate back and forth and provide some very, very needed care in a small rural Texas town where there's so many patients struggling to receive proper health, whether it be diabetic eye care, glaucoma eye care, dry eyes. And so we do pride ourselves on trying to give them the highest level of service. And it's been a thrill to serve both the small town Texas rural community
and the much
as well as the
larger
big city.
metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And looking back, I mean, this is your passion, isn't it?
It is my passion. I've known I wanted to do this since I was a young boy. And
Really?
there's a Dr. James Gamble, who's recently gets hired, and he's in Missouri, and he's in a lot of great things in his profession. But he became a family friend. He was in the military and was paying off the student debt for military service, came to my hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Fort Bragg military institute is, in front of the family, and he gave me my first eye exam.
Really? And how old were you?
I was about 6 or 7. And I was just really enthralled with all the lights in my eyes and all that he was doing. And I also just looked up to him because he was just such an amazing person, amazing man. Friends with my family still, and his wife just came and visited my parents in Nashville last year recently. And so he was my mentor. And so he was the one that inspired me. So at a young age, I knew I wanted to be an optometrist. And so, it's been just a passion of mine, a mission of mine. It's been a great thing, and been in practice for a while. And this meeting, I've had many patients say, "Hey, are you thinking about retirement?" And I always say, I'm in my prime. So I really love what I'm doing, and I want to do it for as long as I can.
You know what? I am going to say the same thing. People ask me, "Hey, Dr. Chu," and some of them might be even my patients, right? "When are you thinking about retiring?" And I am in my craft. Isn't it? I mean, it's not odd, but it does feel a little bit odd because you think that we shouldn't be saying that, but I am. I am literally living in the best years of my life.
Absolutely. And that also goes back to that. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes.
And that's where I think that we are. That I think we've gone through the hardships of starting practices and building a business network.
Yeah.
And now we're, seeing that success in our lives. But we also want to keep that going, but then share that knowledge with that next generation.
Yeah. Well, I've told my associate that me finding my purpose started in the exam.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But now that I'm in my golden years, right? And, golden literally to me is bright and shiny and expanding, right? A glow expands, right? And so I feel like right now in my crime years, I am expanding that purpose that started off in the exam room. I wanted to expand it beyond the bounds of my practice. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go into my platform.
Okay.
You're going to grab the soft shoes bag, and I have the hard shoes, okay? Because you are my guest, you're going to draw from one of the questions in there, and after you read it, we'll see who's comfortable in answering it first.
All right.
So we're going to each take turns answering.
I did more you want?
Possibly. My staff kind of stuffed them all in there because I told them that I was coming to this. And so they printed out a whole bunch and
All
just
right.
stuffed them in there.
I'll put this one back.
So I
That's
wouldn't
it for now.
run out of them.
That was kind of that. Very, very thoughtful to do that
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
Okay. What's a sound you love that most people don't think about? That's a great thinker. That's not a soft chew. I got to dig deep on that one.
The sound that
What's a sound you love that most people don't think about? That's great. We see. Sound that I love. Do you have one tip of your tongue?
I do, but I think, yeah, I'm going to go with it. I mean, most people would think of, birds chirping
Right.
and things like that.
Right.
But I am going to say that only because I live in LA. It's
Okay.
seldom. And it's very rare to hear birds chirping. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go a ways.
Yeah.
And so recently, I do urban living. So I live in a high rise. And so out on my balcony, on a high rise, you don't think that there'll be many birds that come by.
Yes.
But I had this, I don't even know what type of bird it was, but it was not a sparrow, and it was not a pigeon, but it just landed on the railing of my balcony, and I have the patio door open, and it just started, chirping, and it caught my attention because wouldn't hear that often, and that just reminded me that that there's nature out there, and sometimes when you're caught in the busy life of a metropolitan area, it's like you got to be reminded that there's more to just us humans, and distractions, and that there's nature, right?
Yeah.
So that's my sound.
I love that. And you're talking about nature and birds and all that. I try to think, what's my zen? What's that sound? This is my inner peace, and it came back to that. It's water.
Okay.
And not just a certain type. I think that recently I've been to the coast of North Carolina, so I'm hearing the crash of the waves, and I just love that. I can just I love to be on the go and come to meetings and all that, but I love just sitting there hearing the ocean. But I was also recently fishing, the fish, and just the sound of basically the river and the puddle in the water is great.
Yeah.
Even at home, I'm blessed to have a nice home, and I have a full with a water feature. And I can just sit there and hear that water trickle all day long.
Wow.
So something about the water, the sound of water, just brings an inner peace and zen to me. So that's a sound that I appreciate, and I'm not sure others do or not, but hopefully they do as well.
So now that you gave your answer, not that I'm changing my answer, but yeah, I do have a connection with water as well. But just thinking right off the top of my head, it was a bird that landed up in we don't really get birds that land on our patios, especially if we were in a 30-story high rise.
Yeah.
And so that was just something that was very recent. But no, water does have a special place. Yeah, it just soothes the soul.
Water is life, right?
Yeah, and rejuvenates. Like even if you have times where you might feel looking at your low, it just softens you and lifts you up, right?
Absolutely.
Good answer.
Thank
Good
you
answer.
so much. Thank you.
All right, that was a softie.
But I had to think about it, so now I'm a little nervous on the second one.
I know the hard shoes. Here we go. Did you have your coffee this morning?
I did, thankfully say. Okay.
What does it mean to you now to live a life that truly matters?
Oh, I love that. Now this one I think I have an answer
Okay,
for.
you go first.
Because I am living this. And so, a few years ago, there was a keynote speaker at the Exchange, and they gave a message that, if you're in your mid-50s like I am, and you basically have a normal life, you may only have 20 more years of things, like 20 more anniversaries, 20 more birthdays, things like that. And it made me think that I need to now start leaving my legacy. I need to start doing the things that matter, right? So with that, that's what I'm doing. It was all work, and of course family as well. And now I'm trying to get that. So number one, my staff. I have amazing staff at my offices. I'm trying to help them decide what's their next step in their journey. They want to grow within our practice. Do they have a second career goal, whether it be getting more education, things like that? So I'm always working with them to get them to be that way. And then in the industry, as I became an administrator and trying to help the next generation to basically thrive in private practice and do great things, But I also want people to basically, when my last day is here, I want to leave a legacy that, Chip Wood was a good person. He cared for his patients. He cared for optometry. He cared for his community. And I want to make sure that I have a lasting legacy of care, of family, of community, and just try and make a difference for somebody.
Yeah, beautiful.
How about yourself?
Wow, geez, how am I going to top that? Well, how this question it ends with to live a life that truly matters, right? And I really do believe that is what my intent. I mean, I use intent because it's purpose of what I am doing right now is to make a difference that truly matters with people that are going to be here after me. So it's that legacy, leaving that legacy. I'm going to tie it into first just with my family, right? Growing up in the Asian culture where the last name is sacred. So the firstborn, they always want the son, right? I ended up being the firstborn and I'm the daughter. And, I know at that time when it was first announced that it was a girl, it not that it wasn't well received, but it was kind of like, oh, well, kind of wished it was a son, that kind of thing. And so since then I have 3 brothers. So they're all Chews, right? And for me, being a daughter, now that I'm doing all these things that are named after it, like my podcast, chew on this.
What a great title,
right?
Podcast. Love
right?
It.
And the company that I've started, which is called Chew on What Matters, and I have 3 pillars under that company. And I just started this company last year. And Chew on What Matters is the flagship with 3 pillars under it. So I have a podcast, so on this. And I also am launching, like summits. And I think I shared with you, I'm planning to have this one passion project called Visionaries at Sea.
Sounds fantastic.
And this is the first time I actually am saying it.
Love it.
It's in the works, and I'm hoping that I can, launch this ship cruise in November of this year. But that's a passion project, and that falls under Chew on That. That's the second pillar. So Chew on This is more of just putting things out there in terms of making people think about this. Chew on That is on how to action. And that's where these summits, leadership workshops that I'm hoping to create and make them happen so that the attendees will be Paulton Ashes.
Love it.
Okay.
Love
And that's that second pillar.
Fantastic.
And then the third pillar falls under Chew on What Matters, which is my company name. But that's my books that I've been writing each. And so I did a co-authorship in a faith-based business book. That was my first time ever writing something.
Awesome.
And then since then, I've been doing children's books. And, leaving a legacy of teaching children and adults alike, because a lot of times these books are being read to children that are between 4 and maybe 6 years of age. And I want the adults to be reminded about courage and gentleness and being courageous too, and having a voice. And so it's a shared moment. So yeah, so those are my things that I am working on right now that are very meaningful and that I'm hoping that will, truly matter to others.
That they absolutely matter, and you do a great job. I love this consult, friendly. The November project, the cruise, and this sounds so fantastic.
And if you're available, I would love to have you as an attendee.
I would love to be there. So
It was a
absolutely.
great experience.
I look
really
forward to
do.
the invitation when it comes out.
Yes. And I think this is the first time I'm formally actually saying it. But yeah, it's my background passion project.
Love it. Good way. Good luck.
All right. Soft chew.
Oh, another soft chew. Okay, here you go. Let's do this, folks. Okay. What's a smell that brings back a strong memory for you? Wow.
First we had sounds. Now we have smell.
You know, the senses are alive for today, that's for sure. So yeah. So my mother was a great bird, a really great bird. And her thing that was just famous and still is her breakfast. She was makes a great breakfast. And in North Carolina, you always have bacon for breakfast. So wake up and to smell that bacon, you know you're home, you know mom's got it going on. And that's just something. So last weekend, I was visiting my parents in North Carolina, a fishing trip I mentioned to you.
Oh, so it's recent.
Just last weekend, and my mother, bless her heart, she was 83, and she's just doing great. I don't see her as much as I'd like to, but my last day visiting, I woke up for the smell of bacon. So I'm like, mom's making breakfast again. So for me, that smell of mom and home and childhood memories, and then, you know, adulthood memories, and it's just a wonderful thing. But how about yourself?
I am caught between two. All right. And so I'm going to start with the one that reminds me of Ren. And it's the smell of baby powder.
Mm.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my grandmother too.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
absolutely. We share that.
Yeah. I mean, just my grandmother always smelled so fresh and clean. And that scent of baby powder when I snuggle next to her, when I watching TV together, yeah, it's so delightful. It's so delightful.
What a great
Yeah, and my second scent, if I'm going to share it, is actually Folgers instant coffee.
Oh wow, okay.
I mean, I know like we have so many different options nowadays, very expensive options in coffee, but that's what I grew up with. The first scent, even as a kid, would be my father making instant coffee in his kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, back in the 70s, instant was a big deal.
It was.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
Folgers and Sanka and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So,
And, yeah, so that always reminds me
yeah.
that, you know, yeah, it's
that's-
going to remind me of home.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and you reminded me, as that you did too, you know, there's this scent of pear, a pear scent. And my wife had this pear lotion that when you first started dating, she would use, and it's a wonderful, wonderful smell. And she doesn't use it much anymore, but every now and then I'll be somewhere and that fragrance is there.
Yeah.
And it just takes me back to our early dating days before we got married and being with my wife. And this, you know, this little smell, if it takes you back, right?
It does take you back. And it's interesting because I think as us as a society, in terms of all these different scents and things like that, you know, they start getting much heavier as time went by. But I've noticed lately, the scents that are being produced, the perfume, they're much later.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's getting more simple.
They're very subtle.
Yes. And I think that's kind of like brings back the pear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. All right. Time for a hard one.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Right, I gotta separate these. All right, here we go. When have you had to start over in a way you didn't expect?
Wow. That's a great question.
Kind of like a redo?
You know, I think since we're here at the Business Source Exchange,
Yeah.
you know, why don't we just stick to a business question, I guess, right? So I knew that when I graduated talented school, being from North Carolina, an early therapeutic state, that I said I'm going into private practice and I'm be a medical optometrist. And my first practice, I thought I was going to go there and be his partner, and it didn't quite work out the way I hoped it would. I went to another practice, and really great opportunity. Things were going well, and I thought by then I'd be a partner, and it didn't quite work out the way you hoped it would. And third opportunity, same thing. But finally, you know, after a road,
You never gave up.
that's the thing, is that I had to restart a few times, and here we are. We're chewing on this, you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes your journey is a little bit quicker and shorter, and you get on that path right away. But sometimes there's a few different steps you have to hit in your journey to get where you're going to eventually end up. So yes, I had to restart a few times, and I think that's one reason why I appreciate where I am and where I think you probably are too.
Yes.
Because it didn't come easy. You know, it took a lot of reinvention, and there were some good times and some challenging times. But now we're in the good times,
Yeah.
And though there's always challenges of running a business, I love my staff. I have amazing staff members at home, and they support our practice so well and they're great for our patients. And I've had to restart several times,
Yeah.
but for the last 16 years, it's just been a fantastic run. So yeah, I love Business Source and I love the opportunities it's given me for the last 16 years. And I'm so thrilled that it brought you and I together here today.
I know.
So we can chew on
Yeah.
these.
I know. It's kind of funny, and I want you to know this was not a planned podcast. It was spontaneous.
Yep, we saw each other in the hallway
Yeah.
and said, hey, do you have time? And
Yeah, and you said yes.
Yeah.
And and again, these are the things where I call them chance meetings and or divine, timing. And so so I'm very grateful.
it's a professional kismet, I can use as meant to be.
I've never heard that one, but that's a good one. So as you were talking, I was going to interject, but I'm like, I'm not gonna break your flow. But as you were talking, I was thinking the same thing. Like everything that you were going through, all those restarts, right? It makes you appreciate, because that's what you said, of where you're at, because you know where you came from.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And I think that's the same with me, was that for me, starting over wasn't really necessarily tied into just my practice. It was starting over each time with a different challenge that I had to face. All right. And I'll give you some examples. Going through a divorce. And I am somebody that is a hopeless romantic. But because of my history of being abused as a child, I married somebody in optometrist school. And at that time, didn't realize that I was continuing that cycle of abuse. So I ended up going into a marriage where the abuse was worse than what I endured as a child. So, and it took a while for me to understand why I needed to leave. And it took my children to be the reason, if that makes sense. I didn't have enough confidence and value, self-worth, to know that I should leave for me. And we didn't have children for a while in the marriage. So there were so many years where I endured it on my own, but I kept thinking it was normal. I mean, it sounds, but until you live through it, you would understand that it is hard to break a cycle. And so it took my children to be the reason. And so when I left, they were 1 year old and 3 years old. So they were young, but thank goodness they were young. And I left at that time. So that was one challenge. And then I had to restart, right? Because all of a sudden I inherited a practice that Kim and I had started, but I didn't run the business portion of open eye supplications because we were in an immigrant community and he didn't speak the language. And so I saw the patients, he took care of the books, and then he had his own practice with another partner. So that was his, full-time thing. And so to go through a divorce and have 2 young children and then all of a sudden know how to navigate practice, it was a lot. So that's one aspect of my journey. So that's one restart, right? I had to quickly iterate. Second one came really when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And when you're diagnosed with something like cancer, it doesn't matter what stage you were diagnosed, right? And the earlier, the better, right? But just hearing that diagnosis, it really does shake things up. Even though you start to pull in all these coping mechanisms to try to look and feel strong. And the inside, it's like, there's so many questioning of what's going to happen with my business? What's going to happen with my children? And so that was another type where I had to do a restart, meaning that I had to pick myself up, and be strong inside as well as outside, right? And so that was another restarting. I think the third restart really is that during COVID, that was a time that was really, really hard. I ended up leaving my second husband. And with COVID, the turnaround with the staffing, it was a hot mess during COVID. And then to try to lean on colleagues, they didn't know anymore. If that makes sense. We were all like trying to navigate how do you run a healthcare practice in a time when it was so uncertain, right? And then
So many challenges.
well, yeah, and the staff turnaround, that was incredibly high because I had staff that had been with me for over 20 something years. And it was the first time they realized that it wasn't worth it for them to bring home that uncertainty back home when they had overlooked people. You know what I mean? So then they ended up leaving our profession, right? Because it was too legendary to possibly bring that virus back home. So, like I said, those are the 3 different times where I actually had to go to a lot of strengthening or realigning myself to come back.
Let me say thank you for your courage and your vulnerability and sharing that.
I appreciate that.
And professionally, personally, both, those are the things that get us to where we are today.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Kudos to you for getting through that.
No, I know. And this is actually one of the platforms, right, of the podcast where I feel like these personal stories, we used to define it as vulnerability because we don't even, we're afraid to share it, right? But like people like you, like right now, you understanding where I'm coming from, it actually gives them strength because they share, And so I think
I'm glad I can do it for you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, on to that was a heavy one. So let's go to a soft
All
one.
right. Is it vision this time? We did.
I have no idea.
We did sounds. We did.
We never had questions that were based on the senses, and somehow we pulled.
All right.
So it has to be vision next. Oh no, that's
All right. We're gonna skip that one.
we're gonna skip that one.
All right. Let's try this one. All right.
The one he pulled, it just said soft shoes.
What season do you feel like you're in right now in your life? Wow. I'm not sure how to answer the right season technically, but
It could be literal or
yeah. But
metaphorical.
I really feel that I'm in defining mode, and maybe not physically. I'm well beyond trying out for the pro sports and all that. And, I can't quite do what I used to could do. But professionally, family, I think that there's been a lot of things that we've done well, and now we're reaping the rewards of that. Meaning, I have 2 grandchildren who have started their careers in Seattle.
I know we're
Chicago.
both empty nesters.
Yeah. So, and they're doing great, and I feel with my wife some satisfaction that we're able to allow them to go to college and give them a great start in their careers. And now professionally, my wife and I have built our businesses together, and they're very successful. Thanks to our team and your staff and the support of the Vision Source Network. And so now we had this opportunity, like we talked about earlier, to go out there and do things, to travel and to professionally to speak and to teach and to lead, provide the highest level of eye care in our practices, and do podcasts with amazing people like you. So some of my colleagues, I just saw one of my dear classmates who did some amazing things in the academic sector. So he was the dean of one of the optometrist schools, and he retired a year ago. And he said, "When are you retiring?" And I said, "I'm in my prime. I love working. I love being on the road. I love meeting new people, and so I'm certainly not in the autumn or the winter of my life. I guess I'm in the summer. But I guess is that the active time? I don't.
Yeah,
You
summer
know?
work be active.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer my question. I am between spring and summer,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
Because I think spring is the season for like rebirth,
Rebirth.
Right?
Yes.
Rebirth.
Yeah. Growth and rebirth.
and rebirth, and so I think I am coming out of that, and I'm starting to feel comfortable now entering into summer, right? Because summer is the growth has already not finished. I don't want to use the word finished, right? It's more complete,
Right.
right? And the sun is shining, right? And the birds are chirping, right? And I think that's where I am. I'm at the beginning of summer, because this spring portion really was maybe about a year and a half. So we can shoot into spring. And now I'm just trying to see if I'm more of the uh, the self worth that I've been able to recognize,
Love that.
and then just solidifying that. And but I think also this, you mentioned about being at the fine of your life. I think I'm seizing this moment to actually like share my own personal journey with others who possibly might have secondary summer, but there's something holding them back to not want to lean on others, and they think that they can handle it all on their own. And I am a firm believer that we do need a village. We can't do it alone. Self growth, even though it says self and you think it's isolating, but you can't really complete that self growth unless you realize that there are people around you that are there to support you, and you have to recognize that.
Absolutely.
And also to show gratitude, right? Because that's how it works, right? You have to show gratitude for those who are supporting you, but sometimes there's a lack of that communication, and then it ends up being back to where you're isolated again, right? And so I also practice gratitude more in this season. And yeah, so like again, I am so thankful that you are sitting here on this podcast. So
Well, thank you for the
yeah,
invitation.
no, definitely. So what was that? That was the
That was
soft
the soft one, yes.
All right, here we go.
All right, the hard shoe. Here we
A
go.
hard shoe. What's something you once defined as success that you no longer do? Wow, this is going backwards because we're
Wow.
talking about future ahead, and this is something was once defined as success that you no longer do.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is.
You go first.
Yeah. I guess like we achieved it, then stopped, or we don't consider it success. What do you?
I don't know. This is a tough one. It was something you once defined as success.
Yeah.
Give me a second here,
Yeah.
because I don't really know how to interpret this.
I know it's a great question that is stumping us on how to answer it, I guess. But
I know. For me,
yeah.
I'm gonna go with a cultural definition
Okay.
for success.
All right.
So, for my family, being Chinese, success was heavily defined by what school your child goes to, what is their major, what is their profession, things like that.
Yeah.
And I did achieve those things, right? I went to UCLA. I went to the optometry school that I wanted to go to, and it was SECO in Southern California. And at that time, it was hard to get into SECO just because it was in Southern California, and people from all over the United States wanted to go to Southern California, right? So you have that competition, and to have a thriving practice and all that. So in healthcare, so I kind of checked off all the things that my family or culturally would approve of. But I feel like that is a success that they defined it as, right? And I don't really define my success based on any of that.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't say any of that, but I don't put the significance on that.
I guess professionally, well, I was not taught to school, and our family always had what we needed, but we by no means wealthy. He's a very, very, very middle class. We always had what we needed. And I guess I wanted that next level of life. I guess money was something that I always looked at, and jokingly, when people said, "Well, in money, you should have been a Wall Street or a banker, or not a healthcare practitioner." But I also had the passion for helping people as well. And what I've learned over the years, I guess, is that at one time I was kind of setting my goals on monetary goals.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even though that's important and success that's what I was striving for, I think it's back to let's set success for what matters, the legacy you're leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
And, how can we leave this a better world, a better place when we're gone than when we got here, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's no longer tied to that monetary or that prestige that, either we put on ourselves or our family put on ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
At one time, doing well was just how much money are we getting, right? But boy, is the business thriving, and do we have all the toys and the fun things and the trips and all that? And those things are great, but then it's family, it's college, it's basically staff members, it's community, it's our social settings, and just trying to leave a great impression, help the next person, and help them to better their lives as well. So,
Well, yeah, I'm going to circle back to what you said earlier, about helping your staff, right?
Yeah.
To make that next move
Yeah.
for them, whether they want to stay with their practice or if they go and transition
Yeah.
to the next level, right?
Mhm.
And that is a form of success, but it's an intangible. Like you can't measure that, right? So
right.
you just know that that's something that makes you happy because you know that you're helping somebody else.
It really is.
Yeah.
Barbara Cooper was a speaker of our keynotes a couple of years back.
Okay.
And one of her take-home messages, and there's some great speakers over the year about the way these change, but one of it was that every successful business needs two types of people. One of them is the one, and they're the hunters and gatherers. They're out there networking, shaking the trees, they're making things happen. But you got to have the salt of the earth person back in the office, just taking care of all the business, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And that made me think, okay, who in my office are the hunters and gatherers? And who's over here through pillar of the earth and making things happen? And I recognize that. And what I'm learning is that the ones who are the hunters and gatherers, they have an entrepreneurial spirit. And we're not going to keep them forever because they want to be their own bosses and have their own companies. And I'm thrilled to know that of my second office's original core staff, 5 of them are now book associates. They started with us.
Really?
They did a lot of great things to help us to take off as a practice. And now they have their own companies outside of healthcare doing other things.
Wow.
But I was able in the early part of their professional journey to use those assets to help our business to grow. They got this as experience. And then from there, now they're living their best lives.
Yeah.
And so, but I also have amazing staff who've been with me for 16 years. So
Yeah.
my original office manager, my first practice, is still with me doing amazing things. My assistant manager came to us when she was 15, fresh out of high school. 13 years later, she's still doing amazing things. So, we really want to make sure that whether it's providing a career or providing an opportunity for the next step in their questioning journey to make that happen. So, I appreciate my staff so much, and I know
I do too.
I'm not
I do
here.
too.
I'm not here without amazing team members. for
Yeah,
sure.
I without a doubt, I always try to give back to my staff because of that acknowledgement of how much they do. And I've done little things to make them know that they're very special, and so they know what I do for them. And so but we can't do what we do without great staff.
Absolutely. And I think your staff will blessed to have you as the leader.
Well, I hope so. I know so. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to be humble right now.
There you go. There we go.
All right. I think we both answered this hard one. Let's go
Yeah.
with a soft.
Okay, here we go.
And we'll do one more soft and one more hard.
All right, sounds great.
And how are you doing so far?
It's going great.
Okay,
I'm
good,
really
good,
enjoying
good.
it. This is so fun. My
Good.
first time doing something like this. It's so fun. I love it.
Yes.
A little nervous when you told me about it, but it's been a great
But
opportunity.
it's
Great thing.
different.
I love it. I love
It
it.
allows us to just kind of feel
Makes-
more comfortable in this conversation.
It makes you think. So, what's something you're naturally good at that you don't talk about much? Wow. So, I growing up, I was into athletics and music, and I really loved music, and I was a drummer, and I loved being a drummer. So, high school band, marching band. I was the drummer for UNC Tar Heels basketball football team when I was there with Coach Dean Smeck and Coach Matt Brown and some great people, and that was a major passion of mine. And so I don't play drums like I did, but I still I'm still a drummer at heart. And so I moved on to other things, music and theater, and when I have a speaking opportunity, I usually start with a little ditty, little song to kind of have a little bit of artistic integrity there. Call it edutainment. Edutainment.
Oh, really?
Education, entertainment, edutainment. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I try and bring a little bit of the art scene on that thing. But I was a drummer at heart back in the day, and one of my bucket lists before I'm done is to try and get together a little group and maybe form a band again. I was in some hair bands back in the day, and that was an amazing part of my life. And once I went to optometry school, I kind of left it behind. That maybe it's time to break out the set again. So,
You
how about
know,
yourself?
well, as you were talking, I was just thinking, what is it called? I can't think of the name right now, but high school competitions,
Mm-hmm.
they have like a drumming
Yeah, so yeah, but marching band competitions and drum corps and
drum
DCI,
corps.
yeah.
So just the drum corps, right?
Mhm.
I've been to some of those competitions.
Yeah, so DCI, Drum Corps International, they're fantastic.
Amazing. It becomes theatrical,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They have some kind of theme, and then they there's some theatrics to it.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit sometimes acrobatic. It's amazing.
It's not just playing the drums. There's a whole
No.
lot of hands and different things.
No,
It's just
it's
incredible. It's a
amazing.
show, and
Yeah.
it's very, very high level. And so, if you, I mean, there's, I would highly recommend, if you haven't been to one,
I
go to
have,
one.
yeah.
Plus, you have high school and college kids who basically are just really out there working hard, doing amazing things, and like that. Talking about drums real quick, highlights. You talk about what's mattering now in our things and things, and so when I was at UNC Chapel Hill, I wrote the percussion cadence, what the drummers play when they're marching into the stadium and things like that.
And what do you call that?
It's called the cadence.
Oh, the cadence.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard.
So the drum cadence is just the rhythm the drums play, and that's what the band marches to until it's time to stop and play a song or what have you. So it's the thing. So I wrote that when I was there, and to this day, they still use. They've done some adjustments and some added some things to it, but the core was still what I wrote back in the 1980s. So I went back for alumni football game 3 years ago, and I walked in. I hadn't been back in forever because I'm in Texas, right? And it was just so great because they recognized me as the one who wrote it. Yeah. And then they ask you to basically count. So before the game, there's what's called the pith in UNC. It's the middle of campus where all the kids hang up free classes. And so the drummers go there and they play their whole cadence to all the fans, like a little pep rally deal. And they asked me to sit in with them and play with them. Now, granted,
When was this last year?
this is 2-3 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
what an honor.
So, and of course, I went there as an alumni, and I was expecting that. And so I didn't know all the new drum stuff, but I played most of it. And so what was cool, and this is the 15 minutes of fame Andy Warhol talks about, right, is that I got done, and some of the current active band people came to me and said, how do we know all those cadences? And one of the current drummers says, he wrote that.
Also, some of them didn't know.
Well, so basically the drummers knew because they were a big deal about it, but the rest of the band didn't know. And then so at that point when they said that, all of a sudden people are running over to take
Wanting
pictures with me because I'm the guy that wrote the Years No Cadences. So you like to have some legacy, and so I mentioned how drumming was important to me in music, and so that was one legacy I have, that I did something back in college that they're still using today. Pretty fantastic years.
It is. Wow. For me, with something, what was how was the question worded?
Yeah. So what that's
I think it's out my this one. Believe.
Yeah.
What's something you're naturally good at that you don't talk about much? Okay. So for me, it is going to go back towards the artistic part. I actually am very artistic, and graphic arts designs and things like that. And I took 4 years of events, graphic arts, and I thought I was going to go to marketing. And my instructor, she taught me for all 4 years of in that class, and you had to kind of get tested to get into that route. And so she was disappointed when she found out that, as we were already working on my portfolio to get into one of the best art schools in Southern California. But when my parents told me that I needed to go into healthcare, I listened to my parents because I'm the first wave. And so when I had to break that news to my art instructor, she was disappointed, And so, but that is something that I don't talk about. And I think right now in this, my prime years, this is where my artistic talent is coming into play. I'm not sure if you follow me on LinkedIn, but when I make these posts, there is some creativity that is coming through these perks, right? And I take it kind of like a journaling of my life right now. And but I think that's where it is. It's being presented in that format, and this also is a little bit of an artistic. It is, and yeah, I think that's what I don't talk about, but it's stemming from, I guess, a repressed part of my innate talent that I never pursued in a professional setting.
But we hear all through left brain, right brain, and we have that creative side. And maybe we kind of put it to the side for a while over in our professional things, but we just have to bring it back, right, and find a creative release. And it's so great that you're finding a way to do that through all the things you're doing with your company and businesses, and that's great. I feel the same way that I moved from drumming to musical theater to San Antonio, and I've done quite as a that I don't have a show right now because there has to be a right show. You got to get cast, all those things. But when I don't have a show to do, when I'm doing a lecture,
what do you mean a show to do?
I do musical theater in San Antonio.
When you say you do,
like
or do you see it, or
yes.
Wait, you needed to talk about that too. I don't know.
Okay, so I've done several shows in San Antonio
as a
actor.
Performing art.
Yes. So my first show was the 10-year anniversary, 10 years ago to my first show, Rock of Ages. Had a great time because I'm an 80s rock guy, hair band
I'm
guy
an 80s child
from
too.
being a drummer, and that got me into it. And then we were kind of the best little warehouse in Texas was a show that was done. Dolly Parton, Burt Reynolds did the movie, but it was a play. It's a better, I must say. And third show was Bridges of Madison County. That was a great one. And then I did Elf the Musical. And then recently the Kinky Boots. And so...
The Kinky Boots?
Kinky Boots, yeah. So all Broadway shows. And then they are our San Antonio local community of theater. Did some amazing performances. And so I was cast in several of the shows. And it's a passion. I love it. It's definitely a passion, but it's a time commitment too. But you're giving up 3 months of your life for practice performances and every weekend. And you're doing 4 shows a weekend. But I love it. And one of my members who's here, she says, "When's your next show?" I'm like, "I don't have one now, but when I get to lecture, that's where I bring a little bit of music into it. So I like to kind of sing a little song here and there just to kind of get that creativity out. And so I guess that's my release when I'm not performing on stage. So I better to educate and to share. Release too. So
I never really thought about this, but as you were talking, now I kind of realize, oh my goodness. So you know how we're both speakers for contact lenses, right? I realize right now as you were talking, I guess that's an art form.
It is an art.
It is an art form.
Yes.
Because these last couple of years, I've really blossomed as a speaker.
Love it.
But that blossoming was coming from, I thought it was coming from like me building my confidence, which you need to have confidence to be able to feel, that as you're presenting, you can talk about your subject matter. But what I've been imputing now is me, not theatrics, but like more storytelling.
Yes.
Right. Into what we need to actually present. Right. And yeah, it's a creative form.
It really is.
It is.
In Texas, we're Longhorn fans. We're a Longhorn family. My wife's a double major. Both kids went there. I always say that my wife, my kids, and my money would be UT Austin. That's what I always say. But our probably most famous alumni is Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, really?
And the side says, all right, all right, all right. He's an amazing storyteller. He's a really good actor, and lots of commercials, a good-looking guy and all that. Yeah. But he's an amazing storyteller. And I think that that's what we're doing in our industry is that we're telling the story of eye care. We tell them the story as practice management with contact lenses and the things we're doing, and they were telling the story of life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it helps us to find that creative niche to basically be able to take what we kind of repressed from our early part of our journey, and now we're in our profession, living our best lives, sharing with others, and blossoming our inner creativity as well.
Oh, yes, definitely. Okay, one more,
All right,
and
here goes.
then
Let's go. Here's
here's the hard one.
All right.
I always say that maybe we should always end with a soft one, but since we started with a soft, we're going to have to end. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
What's something you once feared that no longer holds power over you?
Wow. That's a great one. Do you have one tip of your tongue ready to go?
What's something you once feared no longer holds power over you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take it a little. I'm going to take it a little route.
Okay.
I used to fear being abused. I mean, I'm taking a little on you, right? So, okay. But it no longer does count over me. You know what I mean?
And good for you. I love that.
I'm going to keep it at that. I don't need to go into any details.
Yeah.
But that was something I feared.
Yeah. And that's real life. I'm so thrilled that you no longer have that holding you back and that fear there. I'm glad that you.
It has no power over me.
You know, I shouldn't say anything. That's the strong place to end. That's so great.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is my journey. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So everyone has their own.
Yeah. I would say just quick first thing in my mind.
Yeah.
I think failure was something that was a big deal to me. I mentioned athlete and music growing up, lots of sports, doing a lot of great teams, won a lot of things, state championship, things like that. But you know, whether it be business or life or sports or whatever, I think that I was always driven for success. I always wanted to go for the ring, you know, go for the gold. And I don't like to not win, you know. So I think that was one reason why, even though I had some setbacks, they mentioned the first and second and third time the thing before it worked out, but I was driven. And I think I eventually learned that life was full of ups and downs. You surround yourself with good people. You basically do the best you can. You try and always treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated. And at the end of the day, if you've done your best, it's going to all work out. At least we hope so, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of, I think that's where it is. I don't basically fear failure anymore. I know if you don't try, then nothing's ever going to happen. It's to try things. And so I've been blessed. You know, I've had some ups, some downs, and wins and losses. But of late, you know, a lot more wins. And surround yourself with good people and good organizations and great family and the support of my wife and family. Then you get nice.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've always told my daughters, you can't stop trying, you know, because they used to come up to me, go, Mom, I don't want to fail you. I don't want to fail you, or something like that. Right? And I'm like, you're not going to fail me. And I go, because you know what? I am going to say there's one thing that I will consider as failures is if you don't pick yourself up and continue moving forward.
Right.
That accepts,
It
right?
does. Yeah, absolutely.
And because when you don't try, that's you literally closing the door,
Yeah.
right? Nobody else's fault
Yeah.
except for you closing the door.
Yeah.
And so you got to open that door,
Yeah.
right? And so that's something that I impressed upon them.
Yeah. I think that, you know, if failure happens, as long as you gave your best, you gave your best.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't try, now you have the regrets of what could have been.
Yeah, because you always wonder, what if I had tried? Well, you know what? You need to try to then know what the answer is, right? But one of the things about failure, it's really not failure if you actually can learn from it. There's always lessons to be learned from anything that I'm going to put in your course of fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? It's all mindset. I think nobody will ever have that inability to recognize a lesson from failure unless they change their mindset, right? It's a lot of times they just kind of give up on themselves, and so I really believe that mindset makes a huge difference. And having positive mindset brings in more positive energy and just keeps going. Not that life is perfect. That's why those ups and downs, when you have those downs, that positive energy will allow you to continue moving forward and not stay crazy.
That's right.
Right.
But you know that the failures helps us to know the obstacles to avoid going forward, to grow, to become better. And when the win finally gets there, it just makes it that much
100%.
sweeter, right? Yeah, it makes you
100%.
really appreciate it. when you
Yeah,
get there.
because it took effort,
That's
and you
right.
know that you worked hard for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't take it for granted. You absolutely appreciate it.
So, Chip, thank you.
Thank you. This has been so
Thank
much
you. Oh,
fun.
my
Please
goodness.
invite me again sometime. I really
Yes,
enjoyed this.
If I'm ever in Texas or if you're in LA, we'll do a repeat.
I love that.
All right. So, to my followers, thank you for joining us on this wonderful episode out in Nashville, Tennessee. And always remember to see things clearly, lead boldly, and live your life ever so purposefully. So until next time, take care. Bye.